Welcome to the Zaxcom video guide for Mix-12 users. For this demonstration, we are using a Deva 16. The Fusion or Deva 4 and above also work with the Mix-12. The Deva's internal mixer has all of the capabilities of extensive outboard mixers, but due to its compact size does not have a button or knob for every function, and it relies on the touchscreen. In comes the Mix-12. It does all of this, consuming very little power and weight while costing a fraction of typical flat panel production sound mixers. The Mix-12 is not a digital mixer, it is a control surface. The Mix-12 controls the Deva just like your keyboard controls your computer. No audio enters or leaves the Mix-12. All audio enters and leaves via the Deva, alleviating clocking errors, calibration, or other problems typically inherent in the mixer-recorder paradigm. Once your Mix-12 is connected to the Deva with a supplied serial cable, provide 12-volt DC power and turn on the Mix-12. Power on the Deva and go to Menu, Setup, Mix-12, then press Mix-12 support to turn it on. Press Tone button Assign 4 times to have the Tone button activate tone. Next, go to Menu, Faders, Fader Assign, and press Preset to reach Preset 3. This preset has no assignments, thus disabling the faders on the front of the Deva, so they don't interfere with the Mix-12. Reboot the Deva. Across the top row are 12 input trim pots. Across the bottom row are 12 linear faders. Owners of the Fusion 12 or Deva 16 can use faders 9 through 12 with an analog signal without the need for external gear, as these units contain a built-in 4-channel A to D converter connected to digital inputs 1 through 4. Connect the microphone to analog input 1 like we did in the Quick Start. Press Channel to have the Deva display analog input 1. Press the touchscreen to change from line level to mic level. Press 48 volts and use Trim Pot 1 on the Mix-12 to set an appropriate level. Trim settings will only persist if made on the Mix-12. Next, we will assign that signal to a track by pressing Bus. The first press presents 2 columns. The left column is Disc Mix. Pressing an empty box on the touchscreen will place a black A. Continued pressing will cycle through analog pre-fader and post-fader with or without phase reversal. Pressing a number key cycles through the same routings on the corresponding disc track. The second column represents output buses to which the microphone signal may be sent. Press the right button to highlight the output bus column and use the number buttons to route input 1 to various output buses, pre or post fader. Pressing bus a second time will bring you to the assignments for disc track 1 and output bus 1. We are no longer concerned with input 1, but rather with tracks and buses. The upper row is disc track. This now routes inputs 1 through 8, tone, talk 1 and 2, and slate to disc track 1. Inputs 1 through 8 may be assigned by pressing an empty box on the touchscreen or by pressing a number on the keypad. Placing an X under tone will cause internally generated tone to be routed to that disc track. Placing an X under slate will cause the Deva slate mic to be sent to disc track 1 when the slate button is pressed. In typical usage, you would not assign talk 1 nor talk 2 to a disc track. The bottom row routes inputs 1 through 8, slate, tone, and talk 1 and 2 to output bus 1. Routing is accomplished in the same way as before. Placing an X under talk 1 means that the Deva slate mic will be routed to output bus 1 when the Talk 1 button is pressed. The same is true for Talk 2 and Slate. Let's set up a private line for the Talk 1 button on output bus 4. Press the bus button above fader 4 twice. You may press the down arrow button to select the output bus, then the Talk 1 button to route it. Press and hold menu to return to the home screen. Now let's confirm we've set our Talk 1 button successfully. Now, press the Talk 1 button and speak into the Deva Slate mic and watch for signal on output bus 4. Observe the other output buses to make sure your private line is actually private. Check 1, 2. Now, let's make sure we didn't accidentally route it to any record tracks. Check 1, 2. Once you are confident that you have set your private line correctly, you may use Talk 1 to discuss the director's vision. Let's put a steep high-pass filter on input 1. Observe the touchscreen and press the EQ button above fader 1. Press Enter to put the EQ in line. This means that it is engaged. Turn the low knob to adjust the level of the first EQ setting. Let's set that to -20 dB. To adjust the frequency, press the down or F button and use the large silver dial to adjust the frequency. To adjust the ratio or Q, press down again or simply press the Q button. Use the silver dial once again to adjust the Q value. Press the up arrow until band 1 turns off. Let's notch out 60 Hz. Press the right arrow key or the channel button to navigate to EQ setting 4. Press the up arrow to turn on notch 1. Specify 60 Hz. You may use the silver dial again or F button 60, enter on the Deva or Mix-12 keypad to specify 60 Hz. Let's save these EQ settings and apply them to another input. To save your EQ settings, press the same EQ button a second time to change the bottom row to Load Save Toggles. You may save the EQ setting to any of the 5 memory positions by pressing the touchscreen or the numerical keypad. Press the 5 button to save this EQ setting and make sure it displays Saved to Memory number 5. Now, let's load that EQ onto input 8 by pressing the EQ button above fader 8 twice. Press the channel button until the option to load memory number 5 appears. Press the 5 button to load that EQ setting and observe that the Deva displays loaded memory 5. Press Enter to put it in line. Pressing EQ a third time will return you to your previous screen. When pressed, the record button immediately puts the unit into record. While recording, you may press record to continue recording in a new file without missing a sample. Stop the recording by pressing the stop button. Pressing the Slate button will send the Deva Slate mic to any track or output to which it is routed. The talk buttons behave similarly. This allows for 3 separate communication pathways using the Deva's Slate mic. You may also notice a second serial port is included on the back of the Mix-12 in case you want to remote roll or serial control the Deva. Having trouble with your microphone trim? Make sure that you are using the setting trims on the Mix-12 and not the touchscreen. Trim settings will only persist if made on the Mix-12. Press the PFL to listen to an input in your headphones. Unlike the solo command, you may listen to several inputs at once using the PFL. When it's blinking, PFL is engaged. Not seeing your EQ settings when making adjustments or loading from memory? Press the Enter button to put them in line. Remember, there are 3 key steps. First, make sure that your faders are disabled in the Faders menu. Second, turn on Mix-12 support. Third, reboot. If all of the buttons and meters on the Mix-12 are illuminated, the Mix-12 is not successfully communicating with the Deva. If using a Fusion 12 or Deva 16, you may use up to 12 analog audio signals without the need for outboard gear. Using the supplied breakout cable, connect up to 4 line-level audio sources to line inputs 9, 10, 11, and 12. Press Menu, Input Configure, then Analog Inputs toggle. Press again to change it to Line Level Inputs toggle. Analog inputs 9, 10, 11, and 12 are disabled by default. To enable them, press the Route Level input and press 9. Line 9 will now display Routed to Digital 1, and 10 will display Routed to Digital 2. You may enable line in 11 and 12 as well. Press and hold the menu button to return to the home screen. Send tone from your audio source and use the trim pots 9 through 12 to calibrate. Note that the line level inputs do not have any trim, and trims 9 through 12 affect the digitized signal. To route analog in 9 through 12 in the disc mix or output mix, use the digital inputs 1 through 4. If we want to include these inputs onto our mono mix track on channel 1, go to Disc Mix. Make sure the bottom row reads Digital and Post Fader. Place black Ds connecting inputs 1 through 4 to disc track 1. Here is a setup utilizing all 12 faders on the Mix-12 and creating a mono mix on disc channel 1. Our 12 audio sources are also recorded onto their own isolated tracks in this setup. Happy recording!